I'm doing the Animal House radio thing, so I got to call you back. Okay, bye. Bye.
I think we're good. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I think, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're on 12 sites. So,
Wow.
that's so amazing that, you know, I found out later on in life that you were Brunella. So what was it like working on that movie? That's got to be, you know, that's my favorite movie,
Yeah.
bar none.
You're from New York, right? I can hear
In the
that.
Jersey, New York area, yeah.
Okay, I'm from New York. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, first of all, I went to a school called Oakwood, which was a super hippie school in LA. Now it's like a super kind of a very liberal but really hard school. Keaton went there also, my son. And a few years ahead of me was John Landis. He actually got thrown out in 10th grade for jumping off the roof of one of the buildings into a swimming pool. I mean,
Oh, wow.
but they're like, you gotta go. you're a distraction. So he basically retired to his mom's house and just ran around in his underwear making 8mm movies. And and getting his parents and aunts and uncles to invest in it. Anyway, I came to Oakwood. I then graduated early and went to study acting in England. John was over in, I guess, which at the time was Czechoslovakia or Poland or something. They were doing Kelly's Heroes. He managed to get himself a role on Kelly's Heroes as playing a nun. Was traveling around Europe. I was living in England by myself. I'd moved there. I was 16. And I was in The Crucible, and he came to see it. And he offered me a role in Schlock. $50 a day, $25 deferred.
That was big money back then.
So I'm like 17 years old or whatever. And I do Schlock.
There we go.
And hi there.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
This is Cliff and Gisela. They're my co-hosts on Animal House Radio.
Why does it keep
Nice to
saying
meet you.
Cliff? I keep changing that.
He's Clifford, the Big Red Magician.
There we go.
Have you ever
Changed
interviewed
the
John?
message.
He knows about this show, doesn't he? He must.
Who?
John Landis.
No, I wish I could. I wish I don't have no. If you can give me, I would love to.
I'll beat him up. Look, if Tim did it, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's what I'm saying. The only one I can't get because he's got like a really strange publicist is Peter Riegert.
Rieger.
I'm dying to get Peter on.
Peter's so funny because when we did the last reunion autograph convention, everybody was there. Jamie Widows and James and Tim and me and Keaton, because I was pregnant with Keaton when I did Animal House, and now he tours with Otis Day and the Night. So Dwayne was there. I mean, like we were really all there. And Peter, we were all giving Peter a really hard time for being so difficult to get to. We're like, we're not going to let you out of our clutches because the second you're gone, you're just so gone.
Right.
I have to get to him too. I know, isn't that weird? What are people thinking? It's stupid. Anyway, so John came and saw the play. I was then living in Berkeley, offered me the part. I did Schlock. He had some scripts lying around. One was called Teenage Werewolf in London, which became American Werewolf in London. He was going to do the horror kind of thing and to work his way into comedy. There were always going to be funny horror movies, but comedy was harder to break into. He's just like a hilarious guy, as you know. And then I get a call one day. I'm young and pregnant with Keaton, and John calls and goes, "I'm doing another movie. We need a girl in it. She has to take her top off. I have to do these uncomfortable auditions. There has to be a secretary. Remember that word, secretary?
Yes.
Secretary in the room. And I hate all this. I know what your boobs look like. We were all such good friends, like swimming and whatever, And he's like, just come do the part." And that was Lisa Bauer's part. That was the one that was, Shelley, who was with Tim.
Yes.
And I said, sounds great. No problem taking off the shirt. Nice to get an offer. I should tell you, I'm pregnant. So when are you shooting? Like, I wasn't showing yet, but, the first place it goes is the boobs, at least for some of us. And he goes, "Oh, okay, let me get back to you." Because it was going to be a few months hence, right? Calls me back, goes, "I wrote another part for you. It's Brunella." And Brunella at the desk, we're going to call her. And Deborah Najoulman, John's wife, costume designer, brilliant, he's like, whatever pregnancy you are, she'll cover it up. She'll figure it out. That's why I wore a poncho, right? And then off we go. I was married at the time to somebody who now he was the producer of Malcolm in the Middle, but at the time he was an AD on Chips or whatever, It's Thanksgiving time. We're on location in Oregon. They passed that script around to everybody and everyone said, no, you cannot shoot here. This is a raunchy piece of garbage. We'll lose all our enrollment in our college. No. And the only reason that the University of Oregon in Eugene said yes is they didn't have time to read it. They never had a chance to read it, so they said yes. And that's how we got our location. So we're up there. Everybody's being paid nothing. And I had morning sickness the entire time. Belushi stayed in the house. We all stayed in this horrible hotel and this depressing Thanksgiving meal. And it was camp, and we loved it. We thought it was just a John Landis fantasy. There was no way anyone was ever going to see this film. It was just an inside joke, we thought. And he kept cracking himself up. But we were like, glad you think it's funny. And then Tim was just so damn brilliant. But so Lisa Power played the Shelley role. I played Brunella. I held her robe for her scenes. And, there we all, very new Kevin Bacon. In fact, later when John said, who should I cast in American Werewolf? I said, use that guy, Kevin Bacon, from our movie. He's like, no. He's not a leading guy. I'm like, you're wrong. And then they used David Naughton for the Dr. Pepper commercials, right? Anyway, so there we were, and it was a super fun shoot. It's just the camaraderie. We all loved each other. We all worried about Belushi the whole time. We also, John, he takes risks. I mean, he wanted that scene when we pull up to see Otis Day and the Knights at the Dexter Lake Club. He wanted it all in one. Like, he wanted us to crash the car and no cuts, and then we get out of the car. And Jimmy and the stunt supervisor and some other people were like, you got a pregnant woman in the car, so you got to put some furniture pads in, and you're gonna have to cut. And he was like, who cares? So you'll see there's a lot of back and forth, and then there finally is a cut so that we can get out. And it was just amazing. I mean, it's only now that people are starting to say, okay, I hope you were joking, because if you weren't, then that movie is really racist. That was the whole point. We were a bunch of super lefty people in their early 20s. And we were trying to make a point about the horribleness of the 50s, because that was already a period piece.
Yeah.
So we were trying, that was our point. We didn't really mean that bad stuff at all. It was just the opposite. But anyway, it was amazing. We were there for months. I mean, I'm sure they didn't pay us holding, probably the top dollar that anybody made besides Belushi was $1,400 or something for the whole shoot for 5 months. I mean, it was.
Yeah, because he was the biggest star, right? Because of Saturday Night Live and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it was a big coup to get him.
It was funny during my interview with Tim Matheson. He said something that was, the whole budget. I mean, the whole movie took like 4 or 5 weeks to make. That was incredible, and in a short amount of time, and look what they came up with. And then the studio gave them a hard time. But the most interesting thing I found out is that the Dexter Lake Club, they were so worried. The studio was like, we can't put that out. That's racist. And Richard Pryor actually got them to put the scene, and he goes, that's not racist. That's some funny shit. And that's how it got in, or else they were going to cut that scene out.
I know they were going to cut that scene out, which would have been so sad. But the whole look, I go places and people are like, do you mind if we dance with your dates? And it's but the people who think it's funny are the people that you're worried have their feelings hurt by it. They think it's really funny. And we just had a reunion there. They've left that place exactly intact. It's so weird. And I was there with Keaton, who was in my tummy at the time, and Otis on that stage doing Shamalama Ding Dong and stuff. I mean, it's time just crunches like that. But John would say the whole time, the studio loves the rushes. Remember that word, rushes, before dailies,
yes.
And we're like, you always hear that. And then we were shocked. We were really shocked when that comedy became what it became. But by the way, it was really hard to get work for a while after that.
Oh, wow.
All of us, you'd think we walked out of this blockbuster movie that made people a lot of money, not us, but other people. And you
Yeah.
think we'd get jobs, but no, everybody was auditioning, not getting anything. That changed later, obviously.
Wow.
Was it, do you think maybe it was like they saw, and it would be a shame, but I know certain things happen this way. If they saw you guys and that was like, those are what the roles that they play. No, you can't put them in it's a comedy. So a drama role that wouldn't suit them. Like, do you think maybe that it held that unfortunate stigma with it?
Yeah, definitely that's why. And later in my pregnancy, I kept acting, but I also became a casting director kind of by default. I was on a series, casting director got cancer. I took over and I brought in all my friends from Animal House. And that's exactly what was happening. They were, the studios and producers in television, at least, were like, no, just leave them as those characters. And it was a very non-conventional comedy. It wasn't sitcom, right? And it wasn't, and it was and also part of what John wanted us to do, which he always does, his use of Arsenio Hall was the same thing. His use of all of us in Schlock was like this too. His first movie that I started along with him, he wanted us to seem a little amateurish. Look how Karen Allen and even Peter Rieger were in Animal House. It was either a little over the top or a little bit kind of like we were the real people and we were looking through a peephole. Now that doesn't necessarily translate. People don't look at you and go, that's brilliant. They look and they're like, oh, those are just the real people, but somebody turned on a camera. And that was the style. And I think that you're right, that style kind of got in the way of anybody being able to imagine us in anything else.
Well, I'm glad that you guys, I mean, obviously it lasted, that wall was eventually broken, for lack of a better phrasing. And we're thankful for that, because, to see you guys having moved past that, and it proves, and that's a shame when any actor or entertainer gets that typecasting, they can't do beyond that. And it's it's like potential and talent gets wasted that way. And I'm glad that you guys were able to surpass that.
Eric comes in when he joins us, which should be any second now. He can tell you that's happened to him numerous times where he's had to let the cycle out. Star 80 is a perfect example of that. Was anybody going to cast him after that as a sweet, not warm guy with kids? No. So that happens. Pope of Greenwich Village. I mean, all of those iconic roles, they're great, but it's definitely, people just kind of want to savor the moment. They want to extend it as long as they can.
You want to you know what I found funny? We had Eric on a couple of months ago, I think during the summer, or that was probably February, March, right before this whole craziness. And he says, out of all the roles he played, he gets recognized as the Dr. Shaw.
Yeah. Doctor, you mean in Stalked by My Doctor? Is that the one you're talking
Yes,
about?
yes.
Dr. Beck.
Beck. Okay, yeah. He gets recognized as that character the most, and I found that astounding.
Absolutely astounding. See, that's the thing. Even the producers, we're doing the 5th installment of that right now. That's the location you're seeing right here. We've always shot it in like Santa Clarita, California, in LA, basically. We're shooting it in Atlanta, Georgia this time. And it is, I mean, even the producers don't realize it. They don't, I had to show them Eric's cameo request so they could see that really out of, let's say 400 of them, 392 are people going, be the doctor. I just want Dr. Beck. Everybody is addicted to that crazy Lifetime show all over the world. It's pretty funny. And you think it would be the classic stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but that character is a little vintage Eric Roberts, like Eric playing a kind of good-looking guy who seems legit, and then you sort of see something under the surface, and then he's full-blown insane. Nobody's better at that than he is. So it works. The formula works. And now it's gotten really campy. I mean, I would almost call it a comedy now. Like we have to leave set in order to not start cracking up. Because
That is funny, but you're right when you said that, because if you look at the track record, you had Pope at Greenwich Village, a handsome guy, but he's always looking for that angle. The specialist, he was a handsome debonair guy, the son of a mobster. Deep down, he's a bad guy, but he portrays himself, so it's
yeah,
but it must be fun for him though to play a bad guy.
it is fun. It's sometimes it's just like the bad boy thing. It's just the cute, irascible, untamable, whatever. And that's neither here nor there. But when it's really playing a bad guy, it is fun. And part of the reason I think he likes it, he always says it's because he gets to wear great clothes and there's all these twists. I think he likes justifying the badness by finding some vulnerable crack in the person. Like, he really felt sorry for Paul Snider. And if you ask him about Paul Snider from Star 80, he'll say, well, he just needed to get a shot. I mean, he could have been a success and he would have left her alone. That is so not true psychologically. But Paul Snider would say the same thing Eric says. So I think that it's finding those little cracks. And then also, that you get to give those chills and those dramatic moments. And listen, a lot of them are like that. De Niro, I like De Niro when he plays a regular person. Think how seldom he's done that.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact from him that he worries about making it interesting. It feels like, well, you want to see somebody in their everyday life. It seems so mundane, But Eric he's kind of getting a little bit more into regular everyday characters. He's kind of changing his acting style to be sort of super believable, kind of almost like cinema verite. And
Right.
he's getting into that. Instead, think how extreme Pope was. That was really extreme. He likes to go there sometimes, but he also likes to not go there sometimes, But even the guy he played in Suits, that was very subtle.
I love that character. I told him that the last time because, and it's funny that you said that about De Niro, because everybody knows De Niro for Goodfellas, a Godfather, the Cape Fear. He plays a nut. But believe it or not, one of my favorite De Niro movies was Stanley and Iris. He was just a regular guy.
Yes.
It wasn't a big hit, but it was it was a good story, and he played just an average Joe. I think it was with Jane Fonda.
Yes,
in the movie.
I totally agree with you. Also, listen, I liked him in The Intern with Anne Hathaway, because if you watch De Niro, he does a lot of really special stuff. It's so believable and so special that it can go unnoticed. But then he did that movie Falling in Love, which I loved. My father was asked to do a rewrite on that, and he used to refer to it as falling asleep. So did De Niro. They both, but I like him in those regular characters. But I get it how some actors can be a little afraid of that. Because they feel like, why would anybody want to see me do nothing? When I've been known to do so much, such big, crazy stuff. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Well, no, along those same lines, like a lot of people, I mean, we use mediums like movies, shows, and video games to escape the mundane, to escape the reality of what is. So when the actor, I could definitely understand what he's doing. I mean, I'm a magician, so my whole thing is that is the escape. It's to make the impossible happen right in front of you. So to sit there, I definitely understand at least Robert De Niro's perspective on that. Like, I'm not doing anything. You don't have to see me do what you see in your everyday life. He wants to do something unique because it's an escape.
Right.
So
I think sometimes though the everyday stuff works if, there are some things that are just so beautifully written that you have a relationship or conversation with people and it's kind of every day. And then somebody says something that is just so bare and honest. Like Shirley MacLaine's moment in Terms of Endearment, when she freaks out because her daughter's in pain and she can't get the medicine fast enough. It's a regular person in a very specific situation. And then when we see ourselves there, it's kind of beautiful. Magic is good. By the way, we're all completely obsessed and fascinated with magic. I still have a quarter that David Blaine bent somehow that came out of my purse. He did it in front of my eyes. I'm sure you're laughing right now thinking, oh, yeah, that.
No, well, no. Here's the thing with magic, it's a lot of us may know how a trick works,
Right.
but just like, my background, I used to be an actor. I did stage acting as I was growing up. So it's an acting background. It's acting with cool props. That's what magic is.
Yeah.
But to see a magician, like, yeah, you may know how to do a certain thing, but to see how somebody else does it,
Yes.
what is their performance? It's like two different actors reading the same lines.
Right.
They're not going to do that scene the same.
Right.
And okay, well, how do you do it? It's a similar thing.
Yeah.
But I like that was the other thing I was thinking was the other, using the coin analogy, the other half of the coin. It's easier to relate to seeing something on the big screen that you have gone through or as a regular person rather than this extreme situation where, like you said, the mother can't get medicine for her daughter. I went through something similar where it was midnight. My kid was sick. I had to go out and hope that a store was open to get medicine. So to be able to relate to that and an actor that can really put that emotion into it, it makes the mundane that much more impressive than
Yes.
fighting the alien or beating the zombie or whatever the fantasy is.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree. And there is a lot of acting, you're right, in magic, because Keaton, my son, was fascinated with magic. And so there was a magician he took magic lessons, basically. And Hal would always say to him, that's the magician, he would always say to him, okay, that's all, you got all the technical stuff. Now we have to do the performance so that and it's a whole big, even if you don't know, I can't believe with the internet and everything else, because we're also close with Penn and Teller. We have a lot of magician friends.
I would love to perform for those too. Like people were like, you should go. I performed, I did years and years at Six Flags.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's the performance. And I taught magic as well. I helped start a summer camp program in the YMCA in the Western Monmouth County area. And its performance is the most important part.
Yeah.
The second is being able to misdirect your audience, because if you control where they're looking, the third is the thing to get the trick to do. That's a part of it, but the least important. The most is the performance. Right. And people had told me like, oh, you should go on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. And I said, I'm not going to fool them. I would love to perform for them and sit there and have the nod of approval.
Right.
I'm not gonna fool them. And that's there are magicians that go in there. If you don't fool them, but you do really well as a performance, it doesn't hurt your career. But it's
I will Simonize your car for the next year if you can get Penn and Teller on the show.
Okay, so we don't let me forget when we're done, and we have each other's email.
Yes,
with John Landis, with Peter. Here, we're already starting the show. Come there, and with Penn and Teller, right? Don't let me
absolutely.
I admire those two so much. Just from
how are we?
I was gonna say the face shield is good, but we already have the screen. We're okay.
Have it on the set.
Oh my God, Eric, how are you, my friend?
A lot worse. How are we?
Talked to him before.
Doing good. Eric, I know you're shooting and everything, and I thank you so much. You always step up to the plate, and I got to tell you, I know I told you this. Your last when you came on, they almost shut down our servers from the emails saying, "Oh, I love this guy. I've seen him in so many things." They go back to the '80s. They go back to the through your whole career, they just were picking out staying lines from certain cop shit his pants and all that stuff,
Thank you, dude. It's so nice to see you again. I now know who you are. Hey, pal.
So you're doing the Dr. Beck thing again.
Yeah, well, Dr. Beck is apparently very popular. They were going to do 1 or 2, and now we're up to number 5. And where I know it's kind of really expanded my whole life is when I'm on planes on the other side of the world and I'm in airports and they go, "Oh my God, there's a doctor." I think, God, Lifetime, who knew? Lifetime's all over the world. Everybody watches it. I had no idea.
Yeah.
We're number 5 now. Did you tell them that?
Yeah.
Your whole career, you've played a bad guy. How fun is it to do this? Dr. Beck is a little different take on what you normally do. How fun is that to play a guy that's like really twisted?
Well, I have to be honest with you. It is so much more fun to play the imbalanced than it is to play normal. I got to tell you, because you have more places to go.
Oh my God, that's you know, when we first talked to you the last time a few months back, I one of my favorite movies. Like I love everything you do, and I looked at your resume online. You have over 500 credits. I'm like, wow, does this guy ever sleep? But and I'm not big on the reboots, but you said, you're gonna leave Best of the Best alone. We're starving for entertainment. Everybody's locked down. I've watched everything I possibly can on Netflix, Eric. Please do another Best of the Best.
Well,
Yes.
that would have to involve Philip Reed and Simon Reed because I won't go without them. And they're the heart of that movie. Even though Alice Grady was one of the co-stars of the movie, those two guys are the yin and the yang of that story. So we have to have them. And I love Philip dearly, but he should not direct movies. So we need another director.
You know what? We actually, in all of these Zooms and all these interviews that have been going on, that's actually come up several times. And we are legitimately looking into it because you're right. We're running out of content. Reboots are the thing. That whole milieu is very relevant now, actually. And there are things they can do with these characters. So it wouldn't be that hard. It's not the same as just going from 1 to 2 and then to 3 and 4. Like now there's been a time span. There's something interesting to say about the characters. So we're definitely looking into it. And it's good to hear that you want it. That means a lot.
But
you
we
know what?
have those Simon Reed because they are the yin and yang of that story.
You got to have the original chemistry or else it's not going to work, know. The whole thing is with the reboots. Like I said, I'm on the fence. But see, Best of the Best is something that we would want to see. Like you see these TV shows and, did we really need to reboot Magnum PI? Did we really need to reboot Hawaii Five-0? They were okay. I look at it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But we want to see what happened with Alexander Grady. There's still more to that story that could be told. It wasn't like you've run. All right, we went this far, and there's really, sometimes you can leave alone and say, hey, we said what we had to say. But there's so many ways to go. And I know with you and Simon and Philip, you put that the script is going to be great because it's in your hands and what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Well, Philip owns the franchise. So it's up to Philip really. And did you see part 3 and 4?
I did. I wasn't a big fan of it. I thought it lost a little luster.
Yeah, it didn't have the pizzazz that 1 and 2 had. So we need to talk, Philip and letting somebody else direct it so he can star in it, and we can get the best out of him. And then we'll carry on. So get on the internet and tell everybody what to do, and let's do it.
Well, I mean, Carlo, you said you're on the fence about reboots. Well, what instead of like a reboot, more of a rekindling? I don't know if I'm sure people heard it. The show Cobra Kai. That wasn't a reboot of Karate Kid. It was, hey, here's what happened 30 years later. So what if it was something along those lines where instead of a reboot of Best of the Best,
that was a fresh idea and it works, and don't forget now, everybody's watching their stuff on YouTube. That's a whole new platform now. So, and it blew up,
Yeah. Yeah. These are great ideas. I'm going to pursue this the second we're off.
I think that's the only way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad to see you're working, Eric, but we talked to you before the pandemic. What do you guys doing to cope? How are you handling everything?
Well, I'm eating more and I'm irritating my wife more. And I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm really catching up. I'm a big reader and I haven't had time to catch up on all the books I want to, and all the scripts I want to in months. So I'm having a great time doing it. But I miss my world. We all do. We all miss our world. It's not the world right now.
Yeah. I hope, you're irritating her. Well, I hope it doesn't get like the War of the Roses where you got to put tape down the middle of the house.
I'm very lucky. My wife is kinder and smarter and more patient than I am. So it all works out.
That's
Yeah,
great.
don't worry. But we are working, and we don't consider, we never go anywhere else. Like, we don't even go to the market. So, and we're really, really careful. These shows have, major COVID compliance things going on. Everybody's tested. You saw him come in with the shield. You still feel funny, but it's very different. The crews are much smaller. You're learning what you can do without, for one thing.
Right. It's definitely a life-changing experience. Yeah.
We haven't worn a body mic for any show, which is kind of great, because when they mic you, you feel like you're still mic'd for weeks. You're like, oh my god, am I not wearing a microphone? So no body
In
mic.
fact, my wife has actually said to me in the car and in our home, "Are you Mike?" "Oh, Mike."
Right.
It's funny.
Except for the time.
That's so funny. Eric, you have over 500 credits on IMDb, a laundry list of some of the greatest movies that we've ever had the pleasure to watch. And even the stuff just from like 2020, there's like 100 and something titles. I mean, it's like, I don't even know when you get time to sleep, but what is it for you that when somebody comes to you with a project, what does it need to have? Do you look for something specific? Is it just, or you just want to be working?
Well, in my early days, it was just the character and the words. And if the character and the words were something that lit me up, it didn't matter all the rest of it. So I just chased that for years. And then now, over the years, it's become all kinds of things. It's become, where are they shooting? So and so. I've never been there. Let's go. It's become from that to what? I get to wear Brioni's suit, a different suit in every scene, and I get to keep the clothes. That's a consideration. I mean, all kinds of silliness. It goes from that, from A to Z, because it is so much. I don't know how to say this and have you guys really believe me, but I'm aware of the fact I have the best job on the planet. I've seen the planet.
Yeah.
I have the best job there is. They tell me what to say, where to go, what to wear, where to stand, and they feed me for free, and I've seen the world for free. And my wife, everybody loves. So I get to stand behind her and get liked because she's likable. So I have a great life, and I'm aware of that.
Wow.
And, the only thing I regret in this interview is not being more positive about Phillips and directing, but Parts 3 and 4 are bad movies. I would love to do a current Best of the Best, and where all these guys now, with Phillips' character, with Simon's character, with my character, and because it's a wonderful story, and it's a feel-good story, and it's a kind story, and it's a story we all. I mean, what guy didn't love Bruce Lee?
I'd be hard pressed to find somebody that didn't.
Yeah.
We had a question come in from one of the military bases actually in Germany. He wanted to know, I mean, you're an iconic actor and you're considered a heavyweight in Hollywood, whether you want to, I know you're humble about it, but it is what it is. But he wanted to know if there was ever a time you went on a set and got starstruck by a fellow actor.
Oh, yeah.
Was a certain,
I'll tell you, it was in my first movie. I've been shooting for 3 weeks, and we're going to start my first night shoot. So we're going to start shooting at night. And the first scene I had in my first night shoot was with Sterling Hayden, who played my grandfather. And they come grab me, and they throw me in the back of the car with Sterling, and we have a 3-page scene. And Sterling, I arrived that night, and I'm excited. I'm with Sterling Hayden. I can't wait. I get a knock on my door, and the second AD says, "Mr. Hayden would like to spend some time with you. You want to go over to the trailer and talk?" Yes. Oh, cool, great. So I get dressed, and I'm over to his trailer. I knock on his door. "Come in, that's very cheap. Rough boys, come in." I come in. Smells of hashish, and I see, he's smoking a pipe. "Have a seat, young man." I do. I sit down. He's smoking a pipe. "Hey, you get high?" "I've been known to get high." "Want to get high?" "No, I can't get high and work because I can't talk." "Well, I can. I'm getting high." "So, what scene are we shooting tonight?" I said, "Scene 87. "I know the goddamn number. What's it about?" I said, "Well, it's kind of a pivotal. What's the word? pivotal scene because you bring me back home into the Gypsy clan and I'm a runaway. So it's kind of involved. He goes, "How are you in improvisation?" I said, "I'm all right." "Okay, that's what we're doing." So we get in the car and he starts talking, and it's a scene about life, love, liberty, lots of money, failing, winning. It's everything there is because of his improvisation. And he just blew me away.
Oh, wow.
And I all of his iconic performances, The Killing, Godfather 2. I mean, God, the movies he's been in and the stuff he's done in them. And then I just was enamored from start to finish.
Yeah. I know it's hard to predict when you get a script in front of you, Eric. You never know what's going to happen. You take chances, and most of the time you hit the mark. But was there ever a time you read a script and you looked at it and you said, this is going to be something, and it did turn out to be something?
The Pope of Greenwich Village.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah, that's my favorite.
I read the book and went, wow, if this is a good adaptation, this is a winner. And then I get the script, and it was written by the guy who wrote the book, and he did it perfectly. And Mickey Rourke is a great actor.
Yes.
Rosenberg was a great director, and I'm not bad myself. We had a great time. And we made the movie we wanted to make. And here's something that almost nobody knows that I think I've only said a couple of times. The first-year director, for whatever reasons, got fired on Pope, and they brought in Stuart Rosenberg. And when they brought in Stuart, he sat me and Mickey down and he goes, "Okay, guys, we're a week behind to start with. So that aside, if you could have any way to shoot this film, what do you want? What is going to make you guys happy to make this movie?" And I said, "Well, I like to shoot in continuity because I lose body parts. So I like to shoot in continuity. Is that at all possible?" And he takes about half a minute to just think like this. He's thinking, and he goes, "I think it might be." And we shot everything in continuity but the racetrack. Everything else is in continuity. And
oh my God. Was there any scenes in that movie, Eric, that were ad-libbed or improv, or you pretty much stuck to the script in Pope?
Well, my favorite line I've ever said is mine. It was an improv, and it's this: "White bread. No one of these wasps got no color."
I love it.
But the monologue I have about the thumb, all Vinnie Patrick, all the writer, all him.
Oh, wow.
On paper, every word of it.
Jack, did you have questions?
Well, that's just it. I kind of got lost in reminiscing because I remember being a kid and I watched movies with my parents, watch on HBO. And I remember watching Best of the Best. And the cool thing about this, the movie has more, it's heart. It's not just your typical action movie. Yeah, there's awesome fight scenes, awesome fight choreography. I studied martial arts, so I love watching martial arts movie and go, no, that's actually real. That can happen. But remembering my mom watching Alex in the fight, and she's going, "Yeah, kick his ass," and I'm going, we're not actually at the event. You realize we're just watching it. It's a movie. He can't hear you. It's done. But just as a kid, and my mom getting into the fight scene, which was awesome. But the thing that always stuck with me, because I remember in flashes, I can't remember necessarily the whole movie. I'd have to rewatch it, but there's certain moments I remember. Tommy on the motorcycle, that his hair blowing, he's riding helmet, no motorcycle. But the very end of the movie, where they pass the medals, and the apology for it wasn't. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. That.
It was very powerful for its time.
Yeah, and there was emotion. It wasn't just an action movie for the sake of action, which is, it's fun to get lost in those, but it was a movie and it had a lot of heart and personality and again, it's attributed to the way it was performed and written, and I would love to see that progress, but that's where I was getting lost in my memory. You guys were talking about it, I'm going, I had moments of that, the first one, the very first movie, and again, just the fact that my mom was like like my dad did with football, like my mom was doing this with a movie, and it was like,
I love that information. Thank you. So cool.
Yeah. And we were going to have a special guest on tonight, Lieutenant General Jerry Martinez, who was the commander for U.S. forces in Japan. He's retired now. He was a 3-star general. He's a big supporter of the show, of the network, and he wanted me to relay something to you. We, like I told you, Eric, we got all the emails. They love you, and rightly so. You deserve all the accolades you can get, but he just wanted me to tell you, especially for him, they're deployed all over the world, and when you're in, like, say, Baghdad or Afghanistan, it's not like you could turn on HBO or Showtime. There's limited. AFN, thank God, has programming, but it's your movies that get these guys, if they could step away from where they're at, because there could be a bomb or something could happen at any moment and it could all end. But if they could step away for an hour and watch The Pope, Star 80, Best of the Best, even Dr. Beck, and it, it's such a morale booster. And I really want you to absorb this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Your movies are getting our troops through the best and the worst of times.
That is so kind. You're moving me to tears because I love what I do, and I could do it.
So do we.
But I like and you always want to have a lasting effect on people with your labor of love. But hearing about it like this is so moving to me, because it's almost like, yeah, I did it. It's that kind of feeling. And
it's a little, you love when fans praise your work, but when you hear, especially those, they're making sacrifices, I think it puts a little extra spin on it. Now, the character of Dr. Beck, he became iconic. Now they're going to keep doing more. I know with any show, the chemistry of the cast is important, and you can't get any better than you, but I could see this continuing. And I know you got to attribute it to good writing. How do you make sure that the character doesn't get stale and keeps it fresh? Because all right, Dr. Beck again, but what are they doing to keep, I mean, you could probably go in so many different directions to keep everybody, enthralled.
Well, they're making it smart in that it isn't just a movie about murder and deceit.
Bye, Lucas. We'll see you, sweetie.
It's not just a movie about like a slashing murder and deceit. It's a bit of a psychological study in that this guy is broken, and he's not balanced, and so it's a study in that, as opposed to just having his actions be the climax. It's
right.
His whole evolution of his mistakes, and it's a fun to watch because he always gets away. So,
right.
So for the next movie. So it's fun. And also, I'm so lucky in that my bosses cast all my victims these incredible actresses. They're always great. And the ones I have now happen to have been my very favorite, so far. But I say that every movie because they are. But these two girls, and one young and the one playing her mother, are just unbelievable. Wait till you see these performances. And it makes me so happy oh God, I'm back with real actors doing real stuff. It's such a good feeling. And it's just, I don't mean to trivialize it or oversimplify it, but it's the most fun thing I do besides kissing her. It makes me happy.
I mean, you're such a well-adjusted guy, and you're about as normal as anybody can get. How do you get into how do you get into psyche of that? Because, how do you prepare for that role? How do you study for a role like that? That's somebody that's not balanced. Is there a technique that you use, or? That's
still got to be fun. Like when Mark Hamill approached the Joker, how every character, Joker is one of the most iconic, unbalanced characters like this. I would assume that and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but like your approach the same. It's so fun because of the level of change and unpredictability you can kind of bring to that, because of the psychological chemistry and things that are going on up here. But yeah, like how do you take an approach to that? And
It was so much fun to be called normal. You know, people think I am in the roles I play, and I'm so far away from all those guys. But I'm like good at those kind of characters because they're way away from me, and I can actually see it. I can see it and then bring it here, as opposed to feel it and bring it out, because I'm not that guy. So I can't go from the inside out. I have to go from the outside in, because I have to look at them first and then become them. I can't feel become them. I have to find become them, if that makes sense to you.
No, it makes
Okay.
perfect sense. Yeah. You know what? I was watching the, you know, because I'm running out of movies to watch, but I was watching The Specialist.
Good movie.
I love the movie, and you know, one of the funniest lines in that movie, and it's a classic. Only Eric Roberts can pull that line off. You're like, when you shot the gun, you go, "Look what you made me do."
What I was going to say. See, okay, that is a really, really good point, and that's what I was going to say. That's where, well, for one thing, the doctor movies have spanned so much time. You know, there was no Me Too movement when we did Stalk by My Doctor.
Right.
Yeah,
And so think about it. So now it becomes like an incredibly timely, relevant, this guy who's going after these young girls, manipulating them, you know, dangling basically their whole life in front of them. And the mom, I mean, like now suddenly it's almost as if it was just written right now because of what's going on. So it kind of fits. It's also the best basic formula for suspense. It's like, oh my God, you're screaming at the TV. He's right. Please believe him. The boyfriend's onto him. He really is a bad guy. Hurry, go back to get your daughter. So it gets you all engaged that way. But what you said is really true. It's those little lines that make it so much fun. It's the fact that, like in this one, we shouldn't tell you, but we're gonna.
You get some trouble.
I'm in it. I play a nurse, and very early in the piece, he kills me to take my identity. He basically kills me for my scrubs. That's it. And so because my name is Chris, so it could be a guy or a woman, right? So takes my identity. So he was gonna kill me with a syringe, but instead I fought him, and so I fall down the stairs. And he actually says to the body, "It would have been so much easier my way." So the same as look what you made me do.
But I say it better. I say my way was better.
Yeah, that's right. My way is better.
Was that scripted, or was that just something? Okay.
That was because that is the essence. Same thing with Paul Snider. That's the essence of the person who they're like, I'm fine. I didn't do anything wrong. It was your fault. You made me, or you just were in the wrong place. Why did you interrupt me? I meant well. I didn't mean this. So that triggers us because people like that are out there. That's real. To some degree or another, we all know somebody who is constantly doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Self-destructive and destructive thing. And they always are blaming everyone else. And you're like, oh my God, look in the mirror, and they can't. So Eric's just playing kind of an exaggerated version of that. It's also so fun because you wonder each time, how's he going to get away with it? Because you know he is.
Yeah.
Right. You got the people that are rooting for you, and then the other half want you to get caught. But what amazes me the most about movies like this, and I guess you could correlate it to horror movies, like the more twisted, the more it's like catnip for the audience.
Yeah, for some reason.
That's why Saw.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
That's why Saw was successful, because
You know?
of how twisted the guy's making somebody else do it. In this case, you're doing it and kind of blaming them for it, and that he was forcing them to do things they wouldn't necessarily do. But it's that twisted psychological movie.
Saw was effect. I'll tell you why Saw was successful. Tobin Bell's a great actor. He's a good friend of the show, and I think a lot of horror movies made this mistake, and sometimes you can't control it, but they kept the same person throughout the series. You know, there's like 13 different Jasons, 13 different Michael Myers. There's only one Dr. Beck, and then that's you.
Yeah, people look forward to that, and that's true. They really kind of stick with you.
I love hearing you say that. Thanks, man.
No, even with the Batman movies, how many different Batmans you're going to use? I understand people get old, but you know, that's it. There's no after Dr. Beck. That's it.
Well, I think they should have stopped with the first Batman. I loved him so much.
Yeah,
He,
yeah.
he was perfect. Why fix it if it ain't broke?
Well, we might-
Yeah.
And
But you know, the other thing that what Eric pointed out about the women play the various women and stuff, you know, so much casting these days, they kill you to get a name. You get a name, and then they want another name and another name.
Right.
And you don't want the best person for the role. They're not auditioning people. It's kind of sad. These movies, they basically have no name actors except for Eric, right? And then sometimes they'll have, like in part 4 or 5, she was the woman who played opposite him was kind of the darling of Lifetime. Okay, we get that, but then you give fresh opportunities to these incredible. I see the audition.
Yeah, they're hungry. That's why they're not complacent. They're hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry and they're good. And now one thing I think that we really need to do, I think we really need to get with the times in terms of the world and casting. We should have already been. The show's a little Caucasian for me. It's a little too white. Like, if you were doing Friends now, there's no way you're gonna have 6 white people. I mean, come on, it's shameful. Like really,
Right.
and it's to the point where it bugs the hell out of you, you know. And
That's funny.
so it's like, please open this up. It's just actors, actors, come on. And so I think that we really, with Dr. Beck's stories, we got to fix that. It's driving me nuts. It's got to drive other. Although, you know, our audience is from everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's getting stopped in the airports in foreign countries, and they recognize Dr. Beck.
Yeah.
In airports when I'm in Asia. Oh, they love it. Oh, doctor. They run after me. It's like they
That's
want
so funny.
a doctor.
I think if you pick the right actor or actress for the role, and it's the right person, regardless of background, race, creed, sexual orientation, if they pull off the part, that's who the part should go to, unless you're already basing it off of an already visual medium. Comic books, you kind of want to keep, okay, that's what people are used to.
Sure.
But at the same point, you can update it with a story that doesn't have a precursor of what necessarily someone is supposed to look like.
Right.
You know, even books get descriptive with, you have in your mind. With a show like this, like having the opportunity to open it up and to people who didn't have to be in 3 blockbuster movies before being in this. I think it's a great opportunity for people to get in.
Yeah. I mean, we come from Joe Papp, you know. I mean, my mom, even back when my mom, who was born in 1925, when she was working with Joe Papp, you know, Shakespeare in the Park, he didn't pay any attention to gender, race, age, nothing. Whether you're in a wheelchair, whether you're blind, I mean, whatever you are, just you play this part, you play that part. And it was really a beautiful paradigm for the world. There's no reason at all, unless you're telling a story where specifically it's about, you know, whatever. I mean, like I'm left-handed, and I suppose it's about the discrimination against left-handed people. So it's like, let's use a real left-handed person. I mean, unless it's about that, there's absolutely no reason. And I do think that we're within, you know, a stone's throw of being able to just be like, okay, that's it. Stop
It's
this,
altering.
you
It's
know?
altering as we speak.
But it's
Yeah,
important that in a milieu like Lifetime, something that's real accessible to people. It's not full of itself. It's not all fancy schmancy. You're not using a bunch of analytics. You're just entertaining.
Yeah, you know,
hard job.
I'm so tired of the drama. You know, we're in a pandemic, and I get it. I won't watch the news; it's too depressing. I'm watching Pope at Greenwich Village. I'm watching anything uplifting. That's why we decided to do these video interviews. Normally we do phoners, but I want people to see Eric and say, "Oh man, I love him." Oh, you know, and now it's getting to the point where like it's getting so now, like when there's a gay character, why don't they make a gay character play that really that I mean, all right, well, but
I got a kick out of the Beauty and the Beast thing when everyone was like, they made LeFou gay. I'm like, you missed the animated version. They didn't change anything.
Right.
It was they may have exaggerated, but I was like, it was well done, and it didn't feel forced.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think, but here's the thing, like going back to the pandemic thing and watching the movies and things with the military, The thing I love about certain movies in the 80s and certain shows and certain things is, and I mentioned it, we talked to Hasselhoff about Knight Rider, and we had, the theme song. If you watch the movie Best of the Best, you will get that song stuck in your head. But that song, you feel like you can do anything. Like you can walk out and nothing can touch you. You have the best of the best, and you're like, yeah, I am. And you can accomplish everything.
Well,
that was such a moving and motivational song.
Jack, I'll tell you why. Besides the script, the chemistry of the cast, Best of the Best was a hit, and I'll tell you why. It was a heartwarming story, and and you learned a lesson from it. And that's that you don't get that nowadays. In the 80s, they put out a great story, but it was like, listen, the humility and the humbleness. Dahan knew he was wrong, and he did the right thing. You learned a lesson from it, and you were still entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You can do it if it's done right.
At all stages of our life, brain expansion is the thing that keeps us locked into something and compelled. You see it in children all the time. I think you're absolutely right. That people, even if it looks vacuous and purely entertaining, the fact that it's changing something in there, that's what gets you to want more. We have to do more Best of the Best.
Okay.
Yeah. Eric, let me ask you, is there a character or like maybe a superhero or a character in history or a movie that you either wish you had or wish you could still play? And then the second question is, when you first got the Dr. Beck script, how did it hit you? Did you say, oh my God, I know I could be this guy. I know it's going to be like, this character is going to blow up.
Okay. There were several questions there. Where do I start?
Wherever you want.
Dr. Beck.
Okay. Dr. Beck, when I read the first script, I was in love with it because it was very balanced. In that it was a balanced story, not a story to highlight the star. It was a really good story, and it was well written, well balanced. And I just fell in love with the script itself as a story, and thought it was a psychological study. It was not a slasher film. It was a psychological study. It was cool. Now they kind of became a little slasherish, but we got
it remained tasteful though. It didn't become schlocky.
Right. And we got back over the course of the 5 films, and now we're back to a real psychological study. And we still have some death, but we have the psychological study of this kind of man, and the fact that he's also where he's at now. He's actually living in an attic, somebody's house. That they don't know he's there at the beginning of the film. He's just camping out. So it's some wild stuff, and it's a study in a broken human, and what he does with it, and it's just fun to watch, and it's fun to play. I got to tell you.
But also at the beginning, I got to tell you, we because every time we go back to this place, we met the producers and writers at a place where we do ADR a lot, or a looping stage. They were looping something, and we went and met with them there. And every time we go back there to loop, I always remember this. So Eric really liked it for all the reasons that he said. He thought I could do something with this. It's kind of, really cool. But he was kind of afraid of them because he's like, who writes this? He was looking at them with a little bit of a jaundiced eye. I love telling them this story because they didn't know that then. We're so comfortable with them now. Now they know. He was a little bit like, I don't know if are we going to stay in the same hotel with these guys? Because I'm not sure. And I know the feeling because my father, who wrote a lot of great films like 3 Days of the Condor, he also wrote Lipstick. And I was the age of the girls, the younger girl, when I saw the movie, and it was called Lipstick. I didn't know anything about it, so I thought it would be about lipstick. And then I see this, and my father wrote it, and I was like, I never want to see him again.
That's so funny.
It scared the shit out of me, right? So Eric was a little scared of Ken and Doug and Robert and stuff who wrote the first script. And then when it started to get kind of campy, we would laugh when we were running lines, and we were like, oh my God, don't ever let them know that we think this is kind of funny. Like Eric peering around a corner spying and stuff, just always staring. And then I caught Ken one day, the executive producer, giggling so much that he had to leave set. And I was like, what happened? I thought maybe he got a phone call. He goes, you're kidding, the scene is so funny. I can't be in there. And I was like, He's like, no what? I said that it's campy. He's like, of course. And we're going to camp it up more. I was so relieved because I thought if they're taking it seriously, all of it, like it's serious and it's suspenseful. If they actually think that this is real and there's no campy moments, that would be frightening. So we are now still on the same page, and these are these guys, they love their dogs. There's nothing weird about them.
It's a bunch of normal people.
Yeah.
I it's been a while since I saw the Dr. Beck shows, and I apologize, my memory. Do they actually show you how he got to the unbalanced point? Do they show you like where it started? Like, was it something that happened in his childhood?
We steal that for number 6.
No,
Yeah, I mean, they want to know how he got this way. It didn't happen,
What was the moment that either the single moment that made him snap, or the progression into
nature
that?
and nature. That's a really good question that we've got to bring up to them for sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember seeing that in any of the shows, like how he just starts out as a successful, handsome doctor, and then he's doing his thing. You don't really see like how he got to that, how he became infamous or treacherous.
Yeah, we need a prequel to this.
Yeah.
How about
But getting back to my earlier question, Eric, is there like, would you want to be Batman? Would you want to be like what character in movies, or somebody that you would like to play or still would like to do that you feel that, like a bucket list sort of thing? I mean, you don't have nothing. I mean, your body of work speaks for itself, but is there something that you still would like to tackle?
what you want to play now, but you're gonna tell
Or wish you could have?
Short, where I played a man in his conscience. So I played 2 guys having a conversation together, and it was very hard, but it taught me, this is interesting. It's a very hard thing to take on, but I would like to take it on in a much bigger way. I would like to play somebody who is very square, like a cop. Like, let's say he's a detective and he's getting towards retirement age. He loves it, full pension, going to be great. Suddenly there's this huge murder spree in the gay bars, and then gay impersonators. They're dying right and left, and we have to find out what's going on. So I'm this square older guy who's about to retire, who is told, look, we need you for whatever reasons, we have to set it up, but you have to go incognito. You have to go into drag. You have to be a drag queen, and you have to mix with these guys, and they have to believe you, and we have to find the killer. This is how we're going to do it. Now, that's all very vague and all very general, but I want to play a guy who is one thing, but has to be another at work. So he's like, let's say he's almost a retiring detective, but at work, he has to be a drag queen. And he does it.
That's funny. That's cool. I'm hooked already.
That's what's left for me right now. That's what I want to do. That kind of extreme dichotomy. But
yeah, it's like a duality, actually. Yeah. Besides the latest Dr. Beck that you're doing, what else can we look forward to that you could share with us, or let us know what else anything you want to promote? I know the last time we had you on with Dustin Wolf, that was such a fun conversation.
Oh yeah, Dustin, I know.
Andronicus. Oh yeah, I did this short with my wifey. We play a couple who is being held hostage by our son at gunpoint.
Wow.
For his perverse, confused reasons, he wants us to make love for him the way we did when we created him. So that's your situation.
Wow.
It gets dark, dude. It gets dark and spooky to deal with. And my wife and I did it.
That's funny. That sounds like an episode of Criminal Minds.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, the thing about it is that resonated for me. It's really a very, very extreme study of the trauma of divorce, because basically one line that just says it all. The kid says, you know, because Eric says the typical thing that you say to your kid when you're getting divorced. You know, we loved each other and we still care about each other. We just can't live together. We're not in love anymore. So we still love you, but we have to do it separately. And the kid says, well, in doing that, you're creating a reality where I don't exist. So he just says, that's how much this hurts me. I know you hate each other and I don't like to be around you either, but if you're willing to create a reality where I don't exist, then that is the biggest rejection ever. And he basically says, make me exist. Now that, you know, it's a short film, but I think that if people dig deep and, you know, his parents were divorced, my parents were divorced several times, I got divorced, you know, I even I sent the script to my kids, you know, is this how you feel? Is this how painful that is? So it was an important thing to be involved in because it makes you think.
It's a very overlooked thing that people don't realize that the divorce affects the kids the most.
Yes, they don't realize. They don't. Because there's plenty of Berenstain Bears and Sesame Street books. They're supposed to make it all better, right? Yeah. And that's good, but
let's start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know I apologize that we ran long, but when we're talking to you guys, it's like you're so iconic, and you know the more feel good content we put out and make people stop watching the news and our troops that listen, you know, if I can give them a Calgon moment for an hour a week, 2 hours a week, then I've done my job. But I'm going to email you and maybe we could set up those two things. And Eric, the last time we had you on, the intern that we hired, he deleted your station ID accidentally that you did for us. So if you could please do another one for me, I'll Simonize your car for a year.
Okay.
Okay,
and I'm going to take you up on that. I love Simonizing cars.
Yeah, what basically just introduce yourself and say you're listening to Animal House Radio.
Okay, here we go. Somebody say action.
Action.
Hi, I'm Eric Roberts with my wife, and you're listening to Animal House Radio. By the way, her name's Eliza.
You know, that's awesome. And I think, Jack, do you have anything you want to say before we let them go? Because
no, it was an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. I do want you at some point, Carlo, either message me or talk to me and explain what the heck Simonizing a car means.
Wax.
Oh, wax. Okay. I'm like,
it's the brand name. Simonize is the brand name of the
I'm
wax.
sitting there. I'm like, because you said it earlier, and I'm going, what the heck is he doing with their car?
Oh,
all right, God. That's a lot better. But yeah, I'm at no.
Eliza,
it was
Eric,
honor and pleasure. Thank you.
Continued
so much.
success. Please stay safe. Keep making those great films for us. And like I said, you guys have an open door anytime you want. I'd like to revisit you guys again during the holidays, maybe for something Christmas time for the troops.
Hey,
go for it. Yes.
Love and respect, you guys.
You guys are great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
That was good stuff, man.
That was awesome. Like to know that it was once the realization hit of exactly who because it took a second. Like, but no, I'm remembering watching those movies growing up and just knowing, getting to talk to someone like that Carlo, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I hadn't met you. So,
well, you know what? I think I want to make it fun for everybody and just put out the best thing that anybody could do for me is, you know, always, you know, donation, support the show, but just share our stuff and get our content out. That's all I really want, you know. But I thank you for being my wingman, Cliff, Jack. But I don't know, you change your name every week here. You're in witness protection or something.
It's a pleasure, Carlo. I love being a part of this. Thank you for inviting me.
You will, and we'll talk soon, my friend. And we'll see you next time right here on Animal House Radio. Guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Eric Roberts, David Hasselhoff, Lieutenant General Jerry Martinez, Gisela Bella, and Jack Morwin, the modern vaudeville magician. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Do not miss it. Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond. That's right. Woo! Robert Barone will be here at 7 p.m. So make sure you check it out. And it all happens right here, right now on Animal House Radio. Take care, Cliff.